I don't know if everyone enjoyed that last sitting as much as I did. It's just something about sitting for a long time that it's just so wonderful to sit when our mind has calmed down a little bit and we're used to it. We've accepted it. We're not fighting it. There's just nothing like a Zazen during sesshin. For me, it's the best thing. So thank you for your practice, because it supports me in my practice. So still talking about Uji. This is the 5th section, and some of you are new. I've got this short Dogen who is very concise in his wording, by the way. There isn't, as Shinsho Roberts said, there isn't a lot of padding in his writing. He's very concise. And this is 1, 2, 3 double-sized 6 pages that Dogen spent on Uji. But if I was to simplify it extremely, I would say Uji literally means being time, or time is being, or being is time. And what he's saying is this moment includes everything: the past, the present, the future, all of the things in the universe, absolutely everything. And our practice is to be in this moment and open up, expand into how vast and wide this moment is. It's a short what Uji is. And actually, that's the sentence we left on. Each moment is all being, is the entire world. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. And I emphasize that. Last time I talked about how that was Bernie's practice to, what am I leaving out? If I have an organization, who is left out? If I'm, like Bernie talks about the ingredients in his book, something about the cook. Each of us have this incredible refrigerator. The refrigerator and all the cupboards are filled with all of the ingredients. And that's what our life is. How do we use all of the ingredients? How do we accept all of the ingredients? And nothing is left out. And also, part of Bernie's ingredients is accepting the ingredients we have to make the very best meal from the life I have. So some of us have champagne and caviar, which I wouldn't like. I don't like to drink, and I'm vegan. Champagne and caviar would be very difficult for me in terms of ingredients. Some of us have beans and rice. We all have our, what Christians say, crosses to bear, difficulties, challenges, and we all have incredible blessings, incredible gifts. So how do we live that life? Okay, a little detour in the Bernie. But Dogen is saying, sorry, Bernie, Dogen is saying, your refrigerator has everything in it. Your cupboards have everything in it. All is included. So with that big a wealth, with that wealth, beyond bigger than the Telsa guy, bigger than the Facebook guy, bigger than the Microsoft guy. Our wealth is millions of times bigger than their wealth. Our trip through the galaxy is forever. It isn't just 6 minutes. So with this incredible wealth, how do we live our life? That's what Dogen is saying. And then when you look at your life, what are you reading out? What do you think isn't part of your life? Wisdom, joy, love? What do you think is missing? Dogen says, nothing is missing. And Shinsho Roberts says, oh, no, then it goes on. The next line, which is part 5. Each moment is all being, is the entire world. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. Yet an ordinary person who does not understand Buddha Dharma may hear the words, the time being this way. So hearing Uji, hearing the teaching of Uji, and this was from the very beginning part. Time being was a list of things, but one of the things listed was 3 heads and 8 arms, which is the Ashura spirit, the demon, the deluded one, and the time being is an 8 or 16-foot body, which is the Buddha, the most magnificent, huge, enlightened, perfect Buddha. So he lists both of those as time being. And then he says, yet an ordinary person who does not understand Buddha Dharma may hear the words, the time being this way. For a while, I was 3 heads and 8 arms. For a while, I was an 8 or 16-foot Buddha. This is like having crossed over rivers and climbed mountains. Even though the mountains and rivers still exist, I have already passed them and now reside in the Jewel Palace in the Vermilion Tower. Those mountains are as distant from me as heaven is from earth. So, the ordinary person who does not understand Buddha Dharma, or maybe you could say who does not realize Buddha Dharma, instead of hearing time being is 3 heads and 8 arms, time being is an 8 or 16-foot Buddha, instead of hearing that, they hear, for a while, I was deluded. I used to be deluded. Back in high school, I was deluded. And for a while, I was so enlightened, like last period. That was great. I was so enlightened last sitting period for a while. This is like having crossed over rivers and climbed mountains. Having crossed over rivers and climbed mountains. Even though the mountains and rivers still exist, I have already passed them and now reside in the Jewel Palace in the Vermilion Tower. So I did all that work. I went on that voyage. I did seshing. I paddled through the river and I climbed the high mountains. I struggled. I worked so hard. And that's still there, but I'm done with that now. Now I'm living in the Jewel Palace, the Vermilion Tower. Those mountains and rivers are as distant from me as heaven is from earth. I don't have to think about that anymore. So he's saying a person who does not understand Buddha Dharma sees it that way. And Shinsho has comments on that. It is this kind of misunderstanding, the one like I have to work really, really, really hard and suffer and struggle in sesshin, and then I'll reach this wonderful place. That misunderstanding causes people to avoid meditation. They physically burn themselves out, or they constantly tell themselves that they think too much, and their effort is therefore futile, resulting in the feeling that practice, activity, and enlightenment are as distant as heaven from earth. So when we've got that carrot, that goal, like I'm deluded and I have to work really hard and I have to quit thinking and I have to sacrifice everything. It's that causes us not to want to come to sesshin and to feel that awakening is far from me, exists far away from me. We think that the time of the river and the time of the mountain are separate from each other. We view them as stages along our path. Yet heaven and earth are not separate, and the way back is only a matter of hearing and understanding. So, what's that thing? You need an attitude adjustment. Basically, it's all about an attitude adjustment. Right now, you are the most enlightened right in this moment. And you're deluded, and we're deluded. It is all here, in us and of us, all the time. We must come back to what is unfolding right now. We are afraid to plant ourselves firmly in the present moment. Perhaps because we sense that to live fully in this moment is to experience the profound impermanence and changing nature of life. So that's what I was talking about last time, is fear. How fear comes up in sitting. And when we actually experience samadhi, and I'm pretty sure all of you have experienced the wonderful immersion in this moment. And there's no fear there. When we really let go, there's no fear. The fear comes from, oh, I don't know what that's going to be like. I'll lose my ground. I'll lose who I am. And so that fear discourages us from practicing. We want to fix and control our understanding. Boy, isn't that the truth? This is how I want it to be, and this is how I want the result to be. And this is what I want to see. Rather than, as he said earlier, Dogen said earlier, let the universe enlighten us, rather than us trying to enlighten the universe. So letting go of control, hard to do. I've got all the fear there is, and I want to be in control. I swear to God, now they've got that algorithm, and Facebook has got me figured out. Every single thing there is to make you safer, like a thing to break your window in case you drive your car into the lake. That could happen anytime. I could do that anytime. So I've got one of those. just in case I need to break the car window. And then GPS, when I hike, I take 3 because you never know. One may break. And anything, like I bought this thing to carry a dog out of the mountains in case your dog gets hurt in the mountains. Well, first of all, I've got rope. I could make a thing like that. Second of all, I think if Bruno gets hurt in the mountains, he's probably going to stay there for a while. I'll probably hike out and find someone to help me, but I don't think I'm going to haul him out, even though I got this fancy thing. So anyway, this wanting to be in control so nothing bad ever happens to me. And Zazen, Dogen, Buddha wisdom invites us to allow the universe to be in control, to let go and to just enjoy the constantly changing freedom of our life. I mean, still, you should have a fire extinguisher very close to the stove. And you should always blow the candle out when you leave. Anyway, okay, well, we're talking about control. We want to see a clear beginning, middle, and end to our spiritual path. So many people coming to Zen, to me, they want to know, what's the curriculum? How long do I do this? When do I get enlightened? When do I get my badge? When do I get my merit badges? And because we're used to college, you know, and I remember that's my favorite part of taking a class in college was the first meeting when they explained what was expected of you, and then you would pass the class. We don't have that. We don't know, because there's no beginning, middle, or end. It's all happening right now. Right now, delusion. Right now, great enlightenment. Right in this moment. And we're aware of different aspects of that. But it's all right here. That's what Dogen's saying. Beginning, middle, and end. Contrary to our intention, that kind of logic, beginning, middle, end, often traps us and leads us further and further from the freedom we seek. As we try to fix and quantify our experience, we find ourselves walled off from our life as it is unfolding. And we compare, right? Compare ourselves to the person sitting next to us. It drives me crazy because everybody looks like little golden Buddhas. Like right now, all of you look like little golden Buddhas. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? How come I'm having all these thoughts and all this pain and all this suffering? And then if someone does have a rite of passage, some kind of acknowledgement for practice. So jealous. I wish that was me. Why isn't that me? It's not fair. It has nothing to do with realization. We do have, you know, transmissions and things like that. But each of us has perfect realization, whether it's acknowledged or not. I was saying about Luis. He never had any fancy transmission or Tokido or anything, and yet lived an enlightened life. So that kind of comparison and yearning for something takes away from our ability to experience the freedom of this moment. It is only when we address our current situation without trying to cut off or repress our difficulties that we are able to fully address and transform our practice. So you hear a lot of people saying, oh, in the old days in Japan, they just cut off all emotions. Emotions weren't part of it. They cut off all um, negativity. Just cut it off. Just go to the light, move to the light. But Dogen says, I'll read it again. Each moment is all being, is the entire world. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. So your anger, your fear, your chaos, your suffering is all part of this. And Dogen said that, not Shinshu, Dogen. Perhaps we are afraid that if we face our current situation, we will discover that we are the delusional, three-headed and eight-armed demon we fear. When we perceive our practice as off the mark, we think that we are far away from the Buddha. Yet this is not so. Dogen addresses this in Kato, Twining Vines, when he writes that practitioners think the way to advance in practice is to cut off their problems rather than working through their problems. He calls working through cutting the complicated with the complicated. So again, she says, Dogen says that we think the way to advance is to cut off our problems. So when you're sitting, just don't think about that relationship. Just cut that off. Don't think about our grief. Don't think about our disappointment. Just cut it all off. And she says, au contraire, in this, and this is Dogen's writing, he says, cut the complicated with the complicated, which is be what you are. In this way, we use our problems as teaching tools to transform selfish and delusional practice into realized, skillful response. So that's how the five families works, which is five families basic Buddhism. It was formulated in very early in India. The Tibetans have kind of worked it more into this tantric transformational practice. And I talk about it a lot. So anger transforms into wisdom. Our anger is wisdom. That's what, you know, everybody knows. I love ink masters. But one of the big tattoos is morphing. Like a person morphs into a wolf or a wolf morphs into a person. We could do, I am not advocating tattoos. I don't have one and I'm not going to get one. But just the picture of morphing the angry demon into the Manjushri, who is wisdom, that's the tantric practice. And that's using the complicated to work with the complicated. Same way, greed, the desire for particularly sex. It's not sex, it's love. It's love and sex. Whatever that is, you know what desire I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure, becomes compassion, love for all beings. And it's right here. That love for all beings is right here. You don't have to look for compassion. It's right here. And if you're having trouble seeing it, look at your lust, because that's compassion. And sit with it, and it will morph, transform into, gosh, I love these tattoo ideas. Maybe I should be a tattoo artist. It could be like a pinup, a really sexy pinup morphing into Kuan Yin. That would be so cool. Anyway, sorry. It's getting late here in session. The point being, and this is what Bernie talked about in terms of ingredients. There's the ingredients like how much money I have and how much education I have, but there's also my ingredients of my darkness, of my chaos, of my pain, of my suffering, of my greed, anger, ignorance. All of those are my ingredients that I bring to practice. And out of those ingredients is birth, wisdom, compassion, and enlightenment. This ability to morph and stuff can only happen when we are not where we wish we were. This can only happen where we are, not where we wish we were. So like pretending I'm enlightened, and how sad, I say sad because I just did this for years, sitting there pretending to be enlightened, and all the demons are like, but what about me? What about me? Shut up, shut up, shut up. Painful. So when whatever is here, that is what we sit with. That's what Father Keating, Luis's really mentor, main mentor, maybe, Father Keating said, when we go to a therapist, we get to decide what to talk about. Therapists are always about, this is about you. You can talk about whatever you want to, which is so awesome and so great and so healing. But Father Keating says and he's of course Catholic, when we sit down to practice, God decides what we're going to look at. So might as well pay attention to what it is that's coming up rather than trying to create something else. Bifurcating, time being, that's a fancy word. I guess it's okay, she defines it, is a way to explore our tendency to define our practice experience as good or bad. So labeling rather than letting it just be here. I want to say, I had such a great sitting. Oh, I had such a terrible sitting, right? And that is where we say, where is the Buddha, the good person, when we are the three-headed creature, the unskillful person? Where is the three-headed creature when we are a 16-foot Buddha? When we begin our studies, we may think, oh, I'm in delusion and I'm deluded about the nature of reality. And if I do the right kind of training, I'm going to become a Buddha. When we are in delusion, we think we are a demon. And when we think we have attained some knowledge, we are closer to being a Buddha. The good Buddha and the bad delusional person are not two beings. You are both. We are skillful. We are unskillful. This foundational isness of things, just as they are, means we do not have to cut off or run away from our problems. Our problems are the soil in which our wisdom will grow. This is the good news. We don't have to worry about finding the vermilion palace. Heaven and earth are united. Okay. I don't know. Every time I look at these, I think, oh, this one's simple. And then reading Shinsho's commentary, I go, oh, and look at that. That's the next line. It's not that simple. Amazing, just amazing. Life is amazing. So anyway, if it doesn't make any sense, great, throw it away. Just sit with how you are now and allow whatever is there to come up. And letting go of thinking is good. Letting go of labeling is good. Letting go of creating systems is good. Being the feelings, being the pain, being the suffering, being the joy, all of that is good. Just be that. And now it's a wonderful time to sit with that. Okay, it's over. David is here. So